Okay, so this is our first lesson, and today we're going to be talking about contour. So this is basically where we're going to start with everything. We're going to be dealing with line and variation of line, and importantly, what's called not generalizing. So when people always start to draw, a lot of times what they do is they just try to like sort of use their imagination or not really look that closely at what they're actually drawing. So whenever you, if I in an email or anything like that say that I think you're generalizing, what I mean by that is that you're not looking carefully and closely anymore at your subject matter and you're just kind of making things up. So that's exactly what we don't want to do here. We want to be looking really, really closely at our subject matter and drawing it accordingly. So looking at the shape and trying to be as precise and accurate as possible. So your pencils, you'll notice that your Faber-Castells, they have a letter and a number on them. So they go from 2H all the way up to 6B. So what that actually means is the softness or hardness of the pencil, and it's really important. So 2H is your hardest pencil, and it's going to be your lightest line. So let me just show you this real quick. So if I go like this, you can probably barely see that line. I'm pressing down as much as I can. Hopefully you can see this, yeah. Okay, so that's 2H. It's really hard. So basically, with the idea there being that the graphite is so hard that it's like not really coming off the pencil very much. This is your softest pencil, so it's the exact opposite end of the spectrum. So look what happens with this when I press down a lot. Super dark. So for contour and for a lot of your drawing, I actually recommend using between 2B and 6B. So 2B is good, 4B is good, 6B is great. Keeping your pencils really sharp. Your 2H is not that useful in this class. You kind of have it. It's very light, so sometimes people like to use it, but it's actually so hard that it can engrave into the page, and sometimes it's like harder to erase it. On the other hand, the 6B is so soft that it's actually fairly easy to erase. So I started on this quick contour. What I'm drawing actually is a phone cord that's been taken off of like a rotary phone. And I already kind of loosely sort of sketched it out, but I'm going to just draw a little bit more of it. And so I'm looking at my subject matter really closely and at the shape. And I'm looking at how it like winds around. So like right here, it actually comes around like that. And hopefully you can see this okay. So your most important thing when you do contour is, well, first of all, looking really carefully and not generalizing, which takes some practice. We're so used to kind of not looking closely at a lot of things. I mean, that's just like we're exposed to so many things to look at every day, so a lot of times it's just sort of hard to break that habit and actually slow down and look at what you're looking at really carefully. But so the first step is not to generalize and to look really closely. The second step is to have a lot of line variation, and that's what's going to make it look like a contour. So there's actually is a difference between what's called a contour and an outline. An outline is like really, really flat. So if I was doing an outline, it would look like this, right? No variation around it. Think of like a road sign. Whereas with this, if you can see, like there's a lot of variation. Let me try to angle this a little bit lower so you can see. Yeah, there's a lot of variation, and that's what's going to show the depth. So our goal in everything that we do in this class is being able to show three-dimensional form on a two-dimensional surface. So like whenever I look at your work, what I'm going to be sort of looking at is how well that you are getting a sense of the three-dimensional form. That's what you're going for. So you want it to look 3D, as 3D as possible. Of course, we realize it's on a sheet of paper. It's not going to be perfectly 3D, but we want it to be as much as possible, as close as possible. So when I do this, I'm varying a couple things. I'm varying my speed, like how fast I'm making the lines. So if you notice, I'm not making all the lines at the same speed. Some I make really slow and some I make really fast. And then the weight of the line. So like notice that around the edges where it's like going around. So again, it's going around like that. I'm making it darker here, and I'm leaving it kind of light in the middle. So on any object you do, around the sides, edges, try making it darker, and you'll notice that it'll look better.